You're in the key of G. In the key of G, there's an E natural.
E flat.
So E flat would be the flat 6. And here's an E flat. So that's the respell. So it actually, I know it's confusing because I mean, it's bad enough when we did modulation, we had to think in 2 different keys. But the spelling of the German 6 is awkward. And it's worse because we've got 2 different keys, and sometimes you forget what key you're in. You're looking at one key signature, but you're actually in another key. In a real piece of music, they wouldn't spell it this way and then spell it this way. They would probably spell it in the new key, like this. But you would, you'd analyze 1, it's a tonic, and even though it's spelled like this, it's spelled like a German 6 in the key of G, we would analyze this as the dominant 7th, because it's enharmonic with the dominant 7th. It would be our pivot, like that. So you're not going to see 2 different spellings, you're only going to see 1 spelling, but you have to be able to spell them well enough to say that's a pivot. Even though it's spelled like this, it sounds like the dominant 7. That is the pivot there. And there on page 268 at the bottom where it starts the paragraph. Composers usually show the German 6 pivot with a single spelling, most often in the new key.
So, I mean, one clue is that, the way it's written, to C sharp.
Yes.
That's not a 7.
Right.
Because there's no D.
So you know something's going on, like a modulation. Right. And so here you might even work backwards a bit, because if you see a 6/4 inversion,
right,
followed by a root position, and then it goes up a perfect 4th or down a perfect 5th in root movement, that's probably the cadence. And then you could say, well, then that weird spelling may be the German 6. But that's why I say spell it out in the corner first when you're doing homework, rather than just look at the notes and try to guess what it is. Go ahead and say, okay, I'm starting in this key, I'm ending in this key. What's the German 6 in this key? What's the German 6 in this key? Or if you're really smart, you'll already know which way it goes. So if it's modulating up a half step, down a half step, or up a major third, that'll tell you what you, then you'll only have to spell 2 things. Okay, let's try it. Page 269 at the top. Chopin, Mazurka. Oh, this is so romantic. Look at the key signature he's coming from and the key signature he's going to. He's modulating from the key of B to the key of E flat. That's very romantic. Now, you might think the key of B to the key of E flat is a 4th, but it's enharmonically, B natural up to an E flat sounds like a major 3rd. Because E flat could be enharmonically spelled as D sharp. Can you see that? A B to an E flat is the same as the sound of a major 3rd, B up to D sharp. Now, if it's modulating up a major 3rd, which of the pivots are they using? What is it in the old key and the new key?
Well, it says right there.
Yes. I'm just trying to get you to think. Okay. It's a 5, 7, a 4 in the old key, and it becomes the German 6 in the new key. The new key is E flat. So how do you spell the German 6 in E flat? Did Chopin spell it in the new key? Let's see. Well, look what he did. He spells it in the old key, and then he spells it in the new key. What a nice guy. That's really confusing, I'm sure. if you look at the last chord before the double bar, C flat in the bass, G flat in the tenor, E flat in the alto, and there's an A natural still sounding in this record. And sure enough, C flat is the flat 6 in E flat, the A natural is the raised 4 in E flat. The E flat itself is, of course, the first note of the scale, and the G flat would be the flat.
And you put the double bar lines in there to show a change of key.
Double bar lines could be to show change of key signature. They could also just be a different idea, like a different theme or something. Romantics use this quite a bit because their music got long. Their phrases and their ideas and themes got very long. So they began to use this small double bar as a kind of, okay, this is a new section or a new idea.
And then it goes to 164.
Yes. And then it eventually will capes in E flat. That's pretty dramatic. So he's in B. Makes it 5/7 of 4. Listen to just the changes of key without the pivot. It's very dramatic anyway. There's a certain lift. That's why the Romantics went crazy over it. There was a certain feeling of, I don't know, heroics or enlightenment or something. They loved this modulation of the third. But it was this pivot. It's just an amazing chord. It's amazing that we can hear it either way. We can hear it as a secondary dominant. We could have stayed in the key of E with a secondary 5/7/4, or you can use it to pivot right into E flat. And your brain just accepts it and says, yeah, that's exactly where it ought to go.
On the 5/7 or the 4 to the German 6, he shows an exercise or an example E going up. They didn't have an example going down. It works the same way.
Because you can't reverse it.
You can't go down.
They just. If you look back at page 266, he gives only the example of the 5/7/4 being used as a German 6 in the new key. You can't reverse that. Now, composers tried it, and they didn't like what it sounded like. That's why we say you can't do that. You're free to try to get it to work. And you never know. I mean, there may be actually a way to get it to work, but it's probably so difficult. Most composers just say, no, this is easier. You know, if you want to do something really amazing about Chopin and Liszt, these two fantastic pianists, they were famous for their impromptus, where people would throw out themes and they would just make up an improvised theme. Even in their improvisations, they used these types of modulations. On the fly, while they were playing, they would put Neapolitan sixths and secondary dominants, secondary 7-diminished sevenths, and modulations involving German sixths. So it's just amazing that, you know, to do a homework assignment like this, you sit there for an hour and you're worried you get it wrong, and then to think that they're just playing. They're just playing it out, and they got the right voice leading everything. I mean, they were extremely talented. It's just amazing to me to realize that. Now, if you're a pianist, you're looking here at the top of 269, you're playing this. That second measure, you have the alto, there's a D sharp, and then another D sharp, and then an E flat. So it's in harmonic. You're playing the same black key on the piano, going from the D sharp to the E flat. But Chopin has respelled it. He spelled it in the old key, and then he spelled it in the new key. But no matter what you do, trust me, someone will complain.